get so high, then why my heart was feeling so low. Yeah, when I get so high, then why my heart was feeling so low. I can't stop now. I got too many miles to go. I'm just an old hard rocker.
Thanks for joining us here. I'm Chris Warden with Mile Backhausen. We've started our interviews here for the Hardrock 100, and special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Sunto, as well as some of our other sponsors, The Feed, Tailwind, Titus Adventure Company, The North Face, Goo, Hypoxico, and Catula. And this next guest needs no introduction, but we're going to do it anyways. It's no stranger to this event or to pretty much every other event that's out there. 50 or so, give or take, wins in 100-mile races, 5 of them here. And I think that we'll just jump right into things. This is the speed goat, Karl Meltzer. Karl, welcome to the broadcast.
It's great to be back here at Hardrock. 14th time starting this race. First time was 99, so it's been a long ride for me, but I'm excited to be on the start line, and I think that's my best asset, is that I'm excited to run here. Again, I didn't think I was going to get in, but now I'm going to get to go play in the mountains, so I'm excited to be here.
Well, actually, that kind of leads into one of my first questions is, what took you so long to get back here? Were you just a victim of lottery luck, or did you have other priorities that you were focusing on? You know, you haven't finished this race since 2015. You know, it's been a while. So what brought you back now?
I was definitely a victim of the lottery. When I entered the lottery, I really didn't expect to get in. I think, like a lot of people, they enter that. Chances are slim. But I got in when I was in in December. I was told when I was running another 100 on the East Coast, and I was like, oh God, I have to run this race again. But that really kind of fired me up, and it kind of motivated me to train a little harder and do things. And it's just great to be back. Now that I live in Ridgeway, close by too. It sort of made sense to be like, well, I'm local here now, so I have to run this race. I came here and I kind of grew up with this race a little bit, my ultra running career. 99, maybe my first start. And 25 years later, I'm starting again. I think it's like a dream world. But yeah, I was a victim of the lottery for sure. But now I'm going to get it done and hopefully finish for the 85th time at 100 miles.
Well, it's kind of proof positive that the lottery doesn't play favorites, because you're a big enough name, and your history, your career is tied into this race to the point where, if you had any semblance of favor, you would have been in, much before now. So I think that hopefully reassures people that you'll get your chance as long as you keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while. You just have to get those qualifiers done and just kind of like cross your fingers and hope for the best. And like I said, I didn't expect. I thought I had 2 tickets, which is funny. I guess I had 10. I didn't know. But I had planned on, continuing to enter the lottery every year, because every year I do a number of hundreds, and usually 1 or 2 of those as a qualifier for here. So I was always eligible. But I'm glad they don't play favorites. In theory, some people say that, well, you've won this race 5 times, you should get in. I'm like, it's not. I've done it a lot. It's okay to let someone else run. I don't want to take someone's spot when there's 5,000 people trying to run a race. But again, I got lucky. My life has been lucky, so to speak. So here I am, and I'm ready to rock and roll in 2 days.
So Karl, 100 miles is not that far. The classic Karl Meltzer saying, something that's been ringing in my ears for many, many years since I got into the sport. I just want to riff off a couple of things here. So we were chatting just before we went live. So you're at this stage in your career, in your life, where you want to complete 100-mile finishes, and you're currently going for 85 here this year at Hardrock. And you're also telling me that you are going for the most consecutive 100-mile wins over the most consecutive amounts of years. And at this point in time, you are sitting at 22, with your most recent win being back in February this year. So for 22 years in a row, you've won a 100-mile race every year. Now, in saying all of that, I just want to know, like, what's it been like, this whole journey for you for so long, and being a real lover of this 100-mile distance? Because it's quite a unique, special distance in and of itself.
I found that the 100 miles was my distance when I ran here in Hardrock in 2001. When I won in 2001 and I ran 26:39, and no one on earth is ever going to run that time again, Karl. You're going to die with that record. And I was like, I don't know. I lost 10 minutes in Pole Creek that one year. But it's been a long ride. I mean, I'm very addicted to the sport. And when I wake up in the morning, I have to do something. I'm a mover. So I go out and I run or I hike or whatever. Chasing the yearly wins thing is, it's a little different now. I mean, I'm not going to win this race anymore. But running other races that are smaller, great courses has been sort of my focus. And, getting to 100-mile wins is, as I've gotten closer, now I'm sort of on the cusp of getting there. 15 may sound like a lot to some people, but to finish it off. But I think I'm capable of doing it if my body holds up. And I love the sport. It's addicting. It's fun to watch how fast people are now. The Killians, the Jims, and Courtney. So many people are fast now. Zach. It's cool to sort of hand off the baton in a way, to watch those guys do what they do. The record here now being 21:35, I think, or 34, 5 hours faster than that unbeatable time in 2001. So it's cool to hand off the baton to those guys, and but at the same time, it's cool to be even just sitting here being interviewed at age 56. I'm older than dirt, I think, at this point, but I can still travel on the dirt pretty quick. So it's just, it's a long career, but it's the career that I chose, and it's the path that I wanted to lead in my life instead of finding a real job. Like, I don't feel like I ever really work. I just run, and I have a shoe, and I have a little store now and stuff, and it's been a good way to graduate forward with my career. Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned, your other endeavors, and that's one of the things we also wanted to have you share some information about. Folks, at the top of the chat, we have pinned a link to Karl's newest endeavor, something that started late last year. Tell us about Speed Goat Trail Running Company and what it involves.
Yeah, I partnered with a friend, Justin Weber, who was actually the filmmaker for the Appalachian Trail film, and he reached out to me a couple of years ago and said, hey, what if we try to create the Speed Goat brand? And I was like, well, we sort of already have a brand. But the Speed Goat Trail Running Company is just a way to, again, kind of keep graduating forward with your life. Like, everyone has to have sort of a business plan, right? And my business plan's all in my head. I never put it on paper. But I think starting a little store and creating our own products of things that I like to use and what I think is best, and try to keep things kind of high-end, good products, not just sell it to everybody. That's been the goal here, and to teach people, whether it's coaching or running camps, which we'll do in 2025. We'll do some retreats here in San Juan Mountains too. It's just a way to move forward, because I'm no longer like the fastest guy out there. So I tried to figure out a way to kind of stay in the sport. And I think having a little store and a brand like that is really cool. And having Hoka behind me all these years too hasn't hurt that. We have to admit that having a Speed Goat shoe named after you is, that's the real dream world. There's the Air Jordan and there's the Speed Goat, and I think some other basketball player has shoes too. So, that to me has been incredible. And Nico Mermoud and Jean-Luc Diard, who are the founders of Hoka, and found me and started the whole Speed Goat brand. Everything kind of came together as one. And now with the trail running company, we hope to expand that into teaching people, from coaching, from run retreats, and just from selling good products and teaching people what works best out and how to be most efficient out in the course. That's been my thing, is being efficient. I've always thrived on not having much downtime here. I think my record is 16 minutes, and that was a long time ago, but challenge anybody to beat that out there. But I try to teach people to be efficient and learn and mentor them to be better runners. And that's kind of what Speed Goat Trail Running is all about.
I have to admit, that is one thing that I do have taken from following you on social media and reading about you, is that you pride yourself on how quick you are in and out of aid stations. And you almost, I have to kind of call you out on this one though. You say, I'm not that fast. I'm just really efficient at aid stations. No, you're fast too. I think that's something. But yeah, like describe how you approach aid stations in a race such as this, where if you make a mistake, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're screwed if you make a mistake at Hardrock, like at a high altitude aid station. How do you prepare for aid stations when you're coming through them in a race such as this?
Yeah, my preparation is actually super simple. I mean, many people will put a spreadsheet together, split times, expected times, eat this, eat that, drink this. My deal is pick up gels, get rid of your garbage, and get your water and go. So back in the day in 2001, we bring it back 20-something years, but I used to have a little laminated card in my pocket attached to my little belt loop on my women's RAI shorts that I would pull that little card out and look at it before I got to the aid station to remind myself what to do. And instead of having that spreadsheet for my crew, I just had that little card. And I look at it, bang, bang, boom. Okay, that's it. It's all I need. Why stand here and take a break and then go? I mean, I remember those days eating, I think 57 gels in one race and water was my diet. I think I had a soup bouillon too, maybe, but efficiency is really important. And I think in 99 and 2001, when I ran here, gels were just kind of hitting the market. And I remember my competitors, Nate McDowell, and I would talk about, how do you be efficient? And I'm like, well, I just eat gel and go instead of trying to have all these plans, because the plans always change. I mean, the weather can change and change your whole game plan. But if you keep it really simple, then it's just easier. I mean, if you have 1 or 2 crew people, it's better than 6, because 6 people will ask you questions. And which when you're at an aid station, you're tired in a race, and you've got this guy, do you want this? How do you feel? How are your legs? What's going on? Do you want this? Do you need this? And for me, it's like my rule for my crew is to not ask me questions. Display what I have in my drop bag in front of me in my field of vision, and I will decide what I want. I might look at that laminated card and say, okay, I got it, and I'm out of here. So I try to make it really, really fast. And I swear to God, that first year when I said I had 16 minutes, the closest person to me was 45 minutes.
Wow.
So I had a 30-minute head start on that guy who wasn't in top 10 anyway. So that was one way for me to sort of beat the field a little bit and gain an advantage on my competitors. And, it proved, I won by a few hours that day, which didn't matter back then. But I think in a lot of races I've run, and nowadays especially when I run smaller races with some more rookie runners out there, they'll be in the aid station and I'll come rolling in 10 minutes later and they're still sitting there and I'll be like, what are you doing? I'll grab my stuff and go, and then I'll be in the lead and this guy's been sitting down for 10 minutes. So the efficiency factor has made a lot of my times lower than they probably would have been otherwise. So, that's how I will run my race. I think now, being slower and not a competitor to win, my efficiency will be a little bit slower. I don't feel rushed anymore. I don't want my crew to feel rushed, but my crew now just has a small list of don't leave without your gels, don't leave without your water. I have multiple stories of leaving it without my water bottles, or I left for 1 year without my gel in my pockets, and I got about 200, 400 meters off the aid station, and this was in this direction clockwise, and I stopped and I was like, I yelled back to my wife, Cheryl, I'm like, I need my gel, and I ran back and got it. So we still make mistakes. I think, hopefully I won't make any mistakes this year, but those little things happen. And you have to learn how to also mentally deal with that stuff on the fly. If you make a mistake and you forget something, well, I have no choice but to keep moving forward, and don't get mad at yourself. If I have a bad patch now, I don't get upset at myself. I more or less laugh at myself because, well, here we go again, Karl, you're bunking or something. And usually it results in calories, and I know how to fix it. I'm very in tune with my body of if my stomach's a little off or something, I usually know how to fix it pretty easily. And you learn that from doing. I learned everything in my life from doing. I'm terrible at reading books and learning. Give it to me straightforward, But I've done 8400s now. I'm not intimidated by hard rock. The mountains are big, the climbs are steep, it's tough. but it does not intimidate me. I know I'll sleep well the night before. It's not a big deal. I go into it with a real casual attitude, and I think that works the best for me.
Karl, let's go just like dig a little bit deeper on that, because someone like yourself who has such longevity in the sport and who's also been able to race at the highest level, and someone who's obviously like also not burnt out by it or stepping away from it. Like, what is your philosophy around this sport with regards to your training, your racing, and just your, I guess, love and passion for it? Because there's got to be something there that you grab onto, like a reason why you're even here still after all these years. And like, how has the philosophy that you have around this sport allowed you to continue to show up year on year?
Well, I mean, one things I've always said to my clients that I coach too is that I always say don't let it intimidate you, but it's fair that this race would intimidate you, right? But the thing is, like, you get to run all day and all night, and probably the next day here, supported. So what can be better than that? The reason you're a trail runner or a mountain runner, because you like to be out in the mountains and you like to do your thing. And when you come run any race, whether it's a 50K or a 50 mile or whatever distance, you get to run all day supported. I mean, more than likely you're going to have a bad patch. Most of us have a bad patch at some point. I think in all the hundreds I've run, I've had 5 races that I didn't have a bad patch. They were fast runs those days, but you have to understand that it's going to hurt. It's going to be tough. But when you cross the finish line, that's the reward. It doesn't matter if you run 21:35 or if you run 47:59 like Bogey did years ago. It's about being out there and enjoying the journey. And it's not always about the competition. It's competition with yourself, just to finish the race. And this race being so hard, it doesn't matter what your time is. I mean, the golden hour, we all know, is like the greatest hour in ultra running, right? And those are the people I think that really drive me to keep doing it too, because it's really special to see people come around the corner and watch them, whether their crew is crying or whatever, and it's special. And to be able to do this is a gift. We're lucky to be able to do this. And I've always said, in my life, I've never chased the dollar. I've always chased the outdoors. So it's been really special for me to just not worry about the financial thing and just follow my passion. People should follow your passion, whatever job that might be or whatever you do. It's instead of feeling you got to go through the college. The college is fine, but go through that routine of saving your money till you're 60, because who knows if you're going to make it to 60, and who knows how much time you have to have after 60. I mean, I've been playing in the mountains since I was 10, and I'm going to continue until I'm dead. I mean, hopefully, in theory, but it's been a good ride. I mean, always got to follow your passion.
I wouldn't mind riffing on that a little bit more. So, like, at points in running and at points in these races, like, it gets freaking tough. And I know you've like sat on the surface there a little bit with what you say, but like, what can you dig into when things get really, really tough? And can you like, what's one of the toughest moments you've had in your career? And
I usually sit down on a rock and just take a break. I won't take breaks at aid station. I'll sit on the rock on the trail, all this aid station time. But it is one of what if you are having a really bad patch out there and you're really struggling, between the ears is everything. It's like the game of golf. I play a lot of golf too, and you can hit a great shot and you can have a really bad day or have a really good day, but it's what's between your ears that matters. And when you have, say, 5 or 6 miles to the next aid station, well, you can't just sit there and get picked up by a helicopter. You've got to go to the aid station. So slow down and walk a little bit, and don't be so concerned about your time or what your splits are supposed to be or anything like that. I mean, when it's hot, you throw those estimates out the window. Like at Western States, gets hot. Throw those estimates out the window. You just learn to be casual and not stress out about stuff, because you're out there in the mountains. I mean, you could be at the office on a phone call or a Zoom call stressing out about something, when you're in the mountains, there should be no stress. And I just try to put the stress behind me and not think about the rest of the world. My world is mountains, so it's easy for me to just not worry about things. I've never worried about much. My wife gives me a lot of grief sometimes. I don't worry about things. I'm like, what are you gonna do? I mean, what can I do about this? I can't do anything about it, so put it behind me. I'm always looking forward instead of what's behind me.
One of the things you've just mentioned, and actually, for those who follow you on social media, they know the only thing you talk about as much as trail running is golf. Do you find a direct or an inverse relationship between your golf game and your trail running?
Well, I mean, golf is, every shot is different, right? So it doesn't matter where you are on the golf course. You could be playing terrible and hit one shot, it goes in the hole. And then you're like, oh, and you go back to it. But I mean, I've played golf since I was about 7 or 8 years old. So I've been playing a long time. I'm pretty good at it. I mean, I'm 5 handicaps. There's millions of people that are 5 handicaps or better.
That's pretty good, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's pretty
not
good.
bad.
Very
I
good.
get it, but I just love the sport. I love how it's different all the time, and it's the kind of sport or game, whatever you want to determine with that. But you got with your friends and you enjoy it. And when you're out on a golf course, it's kind of like being out in the mountains. You get away from the world. I don't bring my phone when I go golfing. I leave it in the car or whatever. I don't like when someone's golfing and they're like looking at their phone. Oh, wait a minute. I'm like, no, we're playing golf, So it tunes me out like running tunes me out. It's kind of the same thing. And it's a really hard game. I still have 4 hole-in-ones. That's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah,
also tall timber too.
Yeah, I mean, a couple were lucky, a couple were better shots. But either way, you're always driving for your best day. And the same thing with running in a race. You want it to be your best day. I mean, my best day here was 24:38, which is a great time. And, my best day might be Friday this week because I might have a smile on my face the whole time. I might enjoy it. It's not stressful. And I might have like a really great run. So I'm looking forward to having my best day. It won't be my best time, but that's what I'm looking for all the time. And golf's the same way. Like, you never know what you're going to shoot. I'm going to shoot 69 one day. Next day I'll shoot 90. Stupid game.
90's better, right?
No, 69 is better.
Oh, 69 is
Yeah,
better.
lower
All right,
More
okay,
faster
yeah.
you get the ball in the
Cool.
hole, the better
Good
it
to
is.
know. Just want to clarify for
yeah.
the listeners out there. 90 is
90's not bad for most
Oh,
people.
90's not.
Okay,
90's
yeah.
bogey golf.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
not bad.
All right.
Better than me. Course this year is clockwise. Are you a clockwise or counterclockwise guy? And what's your favorite section of the course?
I think I like running down the ramps, which is clockwise. The ramps being Campered, Engineer, over to Sherman, because when you go up the ramps, it's kind of more gradual uphill, and Jen, you're probably walking, and it just takes forever to get up the ramps. When you're going down the ramps, you can actually jog. And for me, like a 9 or 10 minute mile is a comfortable, easy pace downhill. Used to be faster, but you just get through that crap faster. My favorite part of the course, I like the Green Mountain, Stony Pass, Maggie Gulch areas because you're up high. It's tough. It's all tough, rugged terrain, but I like that part clockwise as you're getting close to the finish, and you have to stare at that climb going up Cunningham across the valley. And then I also kind of like, KT and Putnam too is really cool because Putnam, again, you're up high. I like being up at the higher points and where you can see everything. I mean, Handy's is special, of course, but those two areas that are next or closer to the finish and start lines are probably my 2 favorite.
I did Cunningham to the finish for the first time the other day with my son who's 17, and man, that I had an immense respect for runners who run this race no matter what. Getting up there and then having to get down that little scree field, even greater respect. I just over and over again, I kept on telling myself, how do they do it at mile 90, mile 91? It's pretty amazing.
It is a hard course. I mean, it is relentless all the way to the end, and like you said, coming down from Dives Little Giant into that shaly area and that single track, and your legs are fried. All you can do is sort of hope for the best, and it always seems to take longer than you think to get down, But you're getting to the finish. You can see Silverton in the distance, see the valley. The last 3 miles is just kind of a roller, which, a lot of times you're walking a lot of that too, but it's still, you're getting close to the end. But every piece of this course can eat at you and pick you up and slam you back down on the ground. I've had many times where years ago when I left Sherman, I remember I was probably in 4th or 5th place, and Ian Torrance was my pacer. The last year I used a pacer in 2004. I puked up an alien, according to Ian, and he sort of talked me into. Well, he didn't talk me into it, but I sort of decided that I would bail out. But after I puked up that alien, I felt better, right? And Ian, I sent back to tell my crew that, hey, wait for me because Karl's coming back. We need to ride back to Silverton to go over Cinnamon Pass. And I went back, and I kind of regretted that, because I sort of did feel better. I probably could have finished the race. But those are the points that Hardrock, it bites at you every time. And then you have moments that you feel like a superstar and you run down that last pitch or whatever. And those are the moments that you look for, It's just a hard race, and it's a slow race. The miles are slow in the San Juans. 4 miles an hour is top speed, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's slow. You tell people that don't really know the race, I'm like, oh, I average 4 miles an hour. And they're like, well, wow, 4 miles an hour, it's 15-minute miles. I'm like, yeah, but I came in 4th, at 4 miles an hour. So I used to joke with Scott Jaime, too, back in the years that we were walking up Bear Creek from Uray one year, and Scott was sitting on a rock. So I got to him and I sat down. I'm like, yeah, we're racing at 2 miles an hour. And we started laughing at each other. I'm like, yeah, here we go. And then later when we got to Grouse Gulch, Scott and I were both taking a nap in the tent. Scott continued on because his son said, you better go, Dad. I said, I'm going home. And I went home. One of my 5 DNFs here. But, yeah, it's special. The whole course will eat you alive if you let it. But then you've got to respect it and just get through it. And when you kiss that rock, it's nothing more special than that.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, do you want to stay on that topic? I was going to switch it up a little bit.
It's up to you, yeah.
Yeah, no,
right.
Karl, I was just going to ask, you created your own race down in Snowbird in Utah, Speed Goat. What did you take from the essence of this race and the feel of this race, and what did you recreate over there? Did you want to keep this vibe and take it over to Utah? Did that play a part in creating your own event?
When I started Speed Goat 50K in 2007, I lived over in Salt Lake and the Wasatch. Those mountains are tough and steep too. They're not as high as here. The climbs aren't quite as long as here, but there really wasn't what I considered a hard 50K, a hard race or hard 50K anywhere in the country. In Europe, there were definitely some, but not in the U.S. So I wanted to make it come run on my terrain. This is the crap that I've been training on. Let's make it hard and make it mentally tough. Not just a lot of vertical gains, but let's bring it on some cross-country trails and let's make it really junky terrain and really spank people and let them suffer. So the race was born in 2007. It was a big old mess that first year. But I sort of wanted to simulate the difficulty of what Hardrock is like. And this way people could experience that difficulty by not having to do 100 miles through the San Juan. They can go to, Snowbird, Utah is where it is, between 8,000 and 11,000 feet. So you're at a pretty good elevation. But I wanted to make it hard. And when I designed the course as it is now we've got a great flowing, amazing course. And it gets kind of harder as it goes. And when you come close to the finish line, you got to go up one more hill when everybody can see you. And when people didn't really know that hill was coming back in the day before the GPX files and all that, they'd get across the line and want to slap me. That was the goal, was to have people be pissed off and not pissed off, but just wow, demoralized. That was
a little bit
come across the line and say, man, that was hard. And that was the whole idea behind it. And then a few races sort of followed suit a little bit. The rut is hard in Montana. Broken Arrow is tough. But I still think, I'm not going to say we have the hardest race over there because I haven't done everything. But in the U.S., I think it's a great hard test of your mental power too. I mean, the last place runner comes in 12 and a half hours for a 50K. I mean, that's less than 3 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough. But people that finish, it's a big reward.
Yeah, it's become one of the iconic 50K races in the country, if not the world. We're going to kind of circle back and wrap things up. I did have a silly question. How often do you get asked to sign shoes?
I've signed a few shoes in my day. I mean, not every day, it's having a speed goat shoe with Hoka is a dream world. This all came from a conversation talking with Jim Van Dyne around the outdoor retailer show in Salt Lake, when Hoka was at the very beginning of when Deckers purchased Hoka. I went to Jim Van Dyne. I said, we should make a shoe called Speed Goat. And he was like, let's do it. It was a 5-minute conversation. And, I had talked about this for 10 years before with my buddies. But he was all in. And Hoka graciously, made it happen. And then we worked together on what I kind of like. I kind of like soft. I kind of like traction, which is kind of like the old mantra of a test, what I had back then. And so they created the shoe, and then I ran the AT in it. Wasn't a big fan of the first model, but obviously now they're everywhere. And when I see them, I mean, it's an honor every time. I've seen them in North Carolina, the East Coast, everywhere. And once in a great while, someone will recognize me and say, "Oh my God, you're a Speed Goat." I'm like, "Nice shoes, huh?" And he's like, "Oh, it's not weird, but it's an honor." I've signed a few pairs, I'm not standing around like the golfers at the golf match signing autographs. I doubt I'll be doing that here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, every time someone asks me or say they like the shoe or just that they're wearing it, is rad. I mean, who gets to do this? Who gets to have that opportunity? And I thank Jim Van Dyne a lot for stepping up and saying, let's do it. And obviously it was a pretty good idea. And it's done really well. And I hope it goes on forever, obviously. Hoka styled me out, and I can't thank them enough for the support. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I actually ran the 2015 UTMB in the first pair of Speed Goats, and my left big toe was numb for like a month after that, and I don't think it was because of the shoe, because I liked it, but. Yeah, that's my story about a Speed Goat. Karl.
They were a little narrow at the beginning there.
Yeah,
They were.
And it's funny about the shoes. I was on the AT with the first pair, right? I went through 19 pairs on the AT that year for 2,200 miles. But I cut a little slit out of the pinky toe because they were too narrow for my foot. And it worked. It worked for me at the time. But then when the 2 came out, and we did our little video there and when the 2 came out, I was just like, now we're really onto something. Well, I mean, trial and error with anything, right?
Sure.
I mean,
Totally.
First time you put a new shoe out there, you hope for the best. You hope it fits everybody, and no shoe fits everybody.
Yeah.
Even now, I mean, as much as I like them now, like sure, there's going to be a little too narrow for one guy, a little too wide for some guy. It's going to change all the time, but the evidence is out there. When you walk around the gym now, where you'll see people on the start line now, probably going to see a fair amount of them, and when I stand on the line, get a little emotional because I see it because it's like, wow,
well, it's also
I created this, huh? What it's really cool.
It's also extremely hard to miss them because of their color. Their colorway is something else.
You should see the first pair of Hokas I ever had from Nico. And I think at Speed Goat we're doing a panel there, and I may have to break out that pair. I still have them. Had 700 miles on that pair. They're old Mafatis. I mean, we all know if we've seen the first pairs, they were really funky looking. It wasn't just the color, it was the whole stitching, the whole deal.
Yeah.
And, I got sort of laughed at Zane Grey the first time I wore those shoes. They're prototypes. But man, I loved them. And I mean, it broke my arm in the race because I was climbing over a dead tree. It had nothing to do with the shoes. But everybody thought it was, but it wasn't. And but then look how it took off. I mean, we got 2 stores in Salt Lake that agreed to buy 50 pairs each at the beginning, and then Boulder Running Company bought, I think, about 700, and that was the beginning. And they sold out of them in Salt Lake. Upon my recommendation, they sold out of them before they got them. And that was like, And then all of a sudden, they kind of, Nico did all the running around, but they went off, and now look at them. I mean, look out, Nike.
Well, Karl, it's been an honor. Like, this has been a long time coming for me personally because I've been a fan of yours for quite a while. I don't know if you feel the same way about that, Maya.
Likewise, man. No, it's so cool to be able to sit down and be here in real life, having a chat.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here, seriously, because I'm an old man now and I'm slow. I feel like I'm slower and old, but it's cool that I'm still recognized.
Oh, well, there's going to be a lot of eyes on you this weekend for sure.
Yeah, no, we'll see how I do. I'll do my best. but I'll give it a smile. I know that.
Well, for those that are interested, thespeedgoat.com, you've got merchandise, you've got coaching services. People can check that out. We invite you to check the link at the top of the chat. Thanks for joining us, Karl. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you in a bit.
Yeah, it's been an honor. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks, folks. We'll have our next interview coming up here in just a little bit.
Run out loud, gotta run on. Keep on running till the sun goes down. Run out loud, better run on. You can outrun the devil, but you ain't gonna outrun me.
Just an old hard rocker running from the dusk till dawn. Yeah, I'm just a midnight walker. Wonder what is taking so long. When the